Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at another Android tablet. This time we're taking a look at one of the very best. This is the Asus Transformer Pad Infinity. Has some of the best specs you can get on an Android tablet currently. So let's crack into the box, take a look around the hardware, and see what makes this so top of the line. Now the Infinity is a 10.1 inch tablet. It's kind of in the same vein as the iPad. But what we have here is basically an upgrade from the Transformer Prime, which it replaces. Here I have the Transformer Prime with its keyboard dock. And as you can see on the box, we still have the tablet along with this sort of ghostly image of the keyboard dock, which is available at a separate charge for $150. But getting back to what the Infinity is basically a top-end Android device. So we have a 1.6 gigahertz quad-core Tegra 3 processor. We also have a new screen. This is a 10.1 inch display with a resolution of 1920 by 1200. That gives us a pixel density of 226. That's not quite iPad third generation territory with a PPI in the 265 range, but it's definitely on the high end side for Android tablets and the best display you can get on an Android tablet at the time of this filming. So this is also available in two colors: amethyst blue, which is what I have here, or the champagne, which is what I have here with my Transformer Prime. Now we also have two capacities, 32 gig or 64 gig. 32 gig is $499, 64 gig is $599. Now on the side you can see the color options here, amethyst blue or champagne. Not much else here. Asus Transformer Pad Infinity. Asus Transformer Pad Infinity, a profile shot of the tablet itself, and on the box, just some contact information for Asus. So let's go ahead and crack this open, see what we get in the box. All right, so let's lift the lid on this. And there is the Infinity. Just to mention here, the inside of the cover is padded. So here we have a little tab to lift it up. Take a look on the back. You can see it is that amethyst blue color. We'll put that aside just for a minute while we take a look at what else is included. So we have Asus, looks like our literature pack in here. Asus tablets, inspiring innovation, persistent perfection. So we have, looks like our warranty information here, and a user's manual, which is obviously very brief because this is an electronic device which can have its own manual built in. Now below the tablet we'll find a cleaning cloth still wrapped up. It's kind of a microfiber cleaning cloth. We also have our wall adapter still wrapped in plastic because it's a very shiny black plastic finish. So if we peel this off here. So there we go. We have our Asus branded AC power adapter. And lastly, we have our USB cable, which is proprietary. This is Asus's cable. This does look like Apple's cable a bit, but this is a different standard. So underneath all this plastic, you'll find a very glossy black plastic, just like the power connector. Now onto the tablet itself, and now before I take the wrapper off, I just want to show you that the wrapper actually explains some of the ports and buttons on this device, which I'll show you when I take the wrapper off. And we also have some other information here explaining the highlights of this tablet. So let's go ahead and peel this off. It's kind of like an envelope. Peels open, and you can slide it right out. Now taking a look at the Asus Infinity, you'll see one of its hallmark design features, which is this milled chassis. This is a lot like other Asus products like their Ultrabooks and the Asus Transformer Prime we have here. Now one of the big changes here is the fact that they've added this plastic window to improve the performance of Wi-Fi and GPS. The Transformer Prime had a single metal body, which unfortunately caused problems with Wi-Fi and GPS performance, so they've redesigned it to accommodate that problem. So up here we'll find our volume rocker, along with a sleep-wake button. Next to that sleep-wake button is an LED indicator, which is our charging status indicator. Up here we find an improved 8 megapixel camera with an LED flash and microphone, improved largely because they've improved the aperture from 2.4 to 2.2, so this is a better low-light camera. On the side we'll find another microphone, which is better situated for teleconferencing. Down here we'll find our single speaker behind this perforated grill. Down here we'll find our connection ports. So we find two for the optional keyboard dock as well as one for the charging and syncing cable. On the other side we'll find our headphone jack, HDMI connector to connect this to an HDMI TV. We also have a reset button, so you just use a paperclip to reset the device if you run into problems, and a micro SD card slot. Now looking at the front, you'll find an ample bezel for gripping onto the tablet without touching the touchscreen. Down below, you'll find a little arrow here which points us to the dock connector. This is important for aligning the tablet with the keyboard dock, the optional keyboard dock. Now up top you'll find a 2 megapixel camera. This is an improvement from the 1.2 on the Transformer Prime. So this will record HD video. So this is great for HD video conferencing. And we also have our ambient light sensor. And now on the right side you'll find this removable sticker highlighting some of its major features, including the fact that this ships with ice cream sandwich. Asus has just recently announced that they will be upgrading this to Android 4.1 or Jelly Bean in the future. So at least at the time of this video, it did not have Jelly Bean. We have a full HD display. We also have that quad-core Tegra 3 processor, again 1.6 gigahertz. That's an improvement from the 1.4 gigahertz on the Transformer Prime. We also have Corning Gorilla Glass 2, which is improved strength and thinness, so it's both stronger and thinner, so it keeps the tablet very thin. We also have that 8 megapixel camera with autofocusing. We have Sonic Master, which is their sort of programming for the speaker, so it improves overall performance from that single speaker. We also have battery life about 9.5 hours, so it has pretty comparable battery life to the iPad. Alright, so we're done looking at the hardware. Now it's time to look at the software. So I'm going to boot it up by tapping and holding this power button. Alright, so we get to set up our device and we can select our language. I'm in the United States and I'm going to use English. So let's start. Now it's just asking for input method. We're going to use the system language. And we're going to connect to my time capsule here, which is my wireless router. Now we're going to select automatic date and time, but I'm going to select my time zone. So we're going to go to Eastern. Now it wants me to sign in using my Gmail account, so let me go ahead and do that. What will happen here is it will transfer all my contacts, bookmarks, my email account, and my calendaring to my new tablet. Now the next thing it wants to know is if I want to back up and restore. And for now I don't want to do this because I want to show you the stock interface. And I'm going to use Google Location. And my setup is complete, so let's go to Finish. Now taking a look at the stock user interface, we have Ice Cream Sandwich here, which is Android 4.0, but it will be upgraded to Jelly Bean or 4.1 in a few months. On the lock screen, you can unlock the device either by swiping right to unlock or swiping left to activate the camera. So let's go straight to the home screen. Now the home screen, we have 5 standard home screens here, loaded with some apps and widgets. Up here we have our weather widget, as well as our email widget and our calendar widget, or our date widget here. And you can remove these or move them around just by tapping and holding them. Now my weather widget here is based on my GPS location, which automatically sets that for me. We also have our standard Android browser, but of course you can load Google Chrome instead. We have YouTube, the camera app, the gallery app for taking a look at our photos, Supernote, which is Asus's note-taking app. We also have Google Play Music, which is our music app, our Play Store, which is our store for apps, books, magazines, movies, music, Gmail, the Gmail app. We also have a folder full of other Google services, including Search, Messenger, Google+, the Play Store, which is redundant, Maps, Places, Latitude, Navigation. So this has free navigation thanks to Android, Gmail, and Google Talk. We also have some other Asus apps, including Polaris Office, which is an office suite, My Library, which is a place or a repository for your books and magazines, and which you can purchase directly from Asus. We have MyNet, which is sort of a DLNA app. This allows you to broadcast photos, video, music to DLNA equipped devices, such as for example, your television, your computer, if you have a PC, or anything running DLNA server. We also have MyCloud, which is Asus's cloud storage solution. We have Maps, which is Google Maps, File Manager, which is our file manager, so you can access files directly on your storage, and we have the settings icon. We also have the Tegra Gaming Zone. Since this is a Tegra tablet, we have some games we can play around with. Now in the upper right corner, we have our app and widget drawer. Here you can access some apps not already on the home screen, including Amazon Kindle, App Backup, and App Locker. These are Asus apps that basically back up your data from your apps or secure your data on the apps. We also have the Asus Vibe Store, which is basically an alternative to the Google Play Store. We also have a calculator. We have things like Global, which is a Tegra 3 game, which demonstrates some of the capabilities of the Tegra 3 graphics performance. We also have a file manager for managing the files directly on your storage. We also have downloads, where you can go right to your downloads. We also have Netflix, Play Books, Play Movies, and we have other things like a sound recorder and other utilities like Press Reader. Also on the second screen is web storage, which is basically an offline storage solution, YouTube, and Zinio. Zinio is a magazine store. Now in the lower left corner, you'll find your standard Android controls, including back, home, and recent apps. Now if you hold the recent apps button, it will take a screen grab of your home screen or whatever you're doing. Now in the lower right corner, we have our battery status, Wi-Fi status, as well as our clock, and some notification badges here. So this can really fill up depending on how many notifications you have. Right now I don't have a whole lot, but if you tap on this, you can see some of them. So you can see we have notifications that include things you can act on, such as music. So we have music playing in the background. We have a nice little widget here to control it. You also have the fact that I just took that screenshot using that recent apps button. Up here we have some widgets for controlling basic functions, including power conservation mode. So here we have, if we turn that on, it turns it to power conservation mode. So it dials back performance and screen brightness. We also have balanced mode, which will give us the best of both worlds, so both performance and energy conservation. And we have performance mode, which doesn't care about battery life. It just gives you the best performance overall. We also have our screen lock rotation. We can turn Wi-Fi on and off. We can turn Bluetooth on and off. We can mute it. We can stop or turn on or turn off Google Sync. And we can turn GPS on and off. Now down below that is our screen brightness controller. So we have a little slider here to adjust brightness as we want. You also have a toggle here for IPS plus mode or super IPS plus mode, which basically brings up the brightness of the display and increases contrast. So it looks very vivid, very bright. It's particularly good for reading text or websites or that sort of thing in bright sunlight conditions. And you can still toggle or change the brightness in IPS plus mode, so you don't have to be stuck with one brightness full blast at all times. Also, auto will basically adjust the brightness depending on the ambient light conditions, and that also works with IPS plus mode. Now in the upper left corner, we still have Google search, and you can do a text search or you can do a voice search. Android. So it just brings up a simple search using the default web browser. You can also hit the microphone directly and do things like listen to Coldplay. So it brings up my Google Music app, and you can select an album to play. Now the other big story here is the camera, which of course uses autofocusing and auto exposure. It automatically adjusts, or you can tap on the scene to select specific areas. You also have a little controller over here, which is basically like a dial. So you can move it around to select your individual settings, or you can go back to zoom in and out on your subject. You can also tap the settings button down here to get to them. Here we can go to our flash settings, so we can set that to auto on or off, auto white balance, so incandescent, daylight, fluorescent, cloudy. We can also change our exposure manually, so we can basically set these, select these presets. You also have a scene mode, so you can do auto, portrait, landscape, night, snowy, sunset, indoors, backlit, or vivid. And you can go to more settings, so you can change whether you want this to store your GPS location, aspect ratio, picture size, focus mode, ISO settings, anti-flickering to adjust for LED light fixtures or fluorescent light fixtures, shutter sounds if you don't want that shuttering noise. You can turn that on and off, and you can use the show focus frame, so you can turn that on or off. You can also go to restore defaults to get back to your original settings. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the performance. So we have this Asus Transformer Prime. Just snap a photo. You can see it's pretty quick. You can't exactly hit it multiple times to get quick snapshots, but it's pretty good, especially for such a high resolution camera. Now in the camera app, you can also switch the camera to the front-facing camera, so you can take photos using that camera. And you can also jump to your video camera mode. So here, again, you have digital zoom, you have your record button. You also have your settings here. Some of them are different, obviously, for video. So you can change whether you want your LED on or off, so that will turn on the LED flash, which again is pretty unique to most tablets of this size. Most do not have LED flashes, including the iPad. So let's turn that off. We also have auto white balance, so we have familiar settings there. We also have effects, so this is kind of similar to photo booth. We also have time lapse, so this will basically take still shots every 1 second, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, etc., etc. And what this will do is composite them to create a basically a time lapse video. You can also toggle on 1080p video, HD video, which is 720p, or standard def, and you have additional settings such as toggling on your GPS location. Now overall, videos and photos are very sharp, very crisp, thanks to the high resolution sensor and the processing power behind it, but the lenses aren't the best, so you do get some color distortion, so colors tend to be a little washed out. Now, just to demonstrate the front-facing camera on the Infinity, you can see it's pretty good quality. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio, full HD video. So it's better than the FaceTime camera, for example, on the iPad, which is a VGA quality. Now, there isn't autofocusing. This is a fixed focus lens, a lot like most front-facing cameras, such as the HD FaceTime camera on the Mac. So quality and audio are pretty good. Audio does have sort of a noise cancellation effect, so you'll hear the audio drop in and out as you speak. So it's not the best audio, but it does the job and seems to work pretty well. Now, taking a look at some of the design differences and similarities, the new Infinity is an all-new design, so it has a completely different chassis design. So the Prime has a single metal panel along with a bezel, so it's kind of a two-piece design. We still have a two-piece design here, but the metal part of the Infinity is a unibody design, so you can see the bezel and the back panel are all one, but now we have this plastic window sort of cut into it for RF transparency to allow GPS and Wi-Fi to work properly. Some of the ports and buttons have also moved. So on the bottom we have our 40-pin dock connectors in the same position along with the keyboard dock connectors. The speaker's in the same position, but the grill on the Infinity is a bit smaller than the Prime. Our headphone jack has changed position. So on the Infinity, we have a microphone in that position, but the headphone jack is over here. On the Infinity, it's now on the other side, along with the HDMI port. The HDMI port on the Prime was over here near the volume rocker. Now, the volume rocker has also moved on the Infinity, so now it's on the top along with the sleep-wake button, which is in the same position. You can see the LED indicator was also integrated into the button on the Prime versus the dedicated LED here on the Infinity. Now we still have our micro SD card slot in the same position as well as this little reset button. Now the big news is the Infinity's screen resolution. So if you look really closely, you can see quite a bit of detail. So for example, you can see a lot of detail in the icons. You can see a lot of detail in the image in the background, which is optimized for the screen resolution. Now the story here is that not everything is optimized for a screen resolution like this. So for example, apps don't look as sharp as, or app icons or images in apps or graphics don't look as sharp as they could on a display like this. So not everything is optimized for it. For example, you can see every blade of grass, not every blade, but you can see some details in the grass. You can see leaves on the tree, looks pretty sharp. But the biggest impact is on text. So text, because it's rendered by the device, looks very sharp on this display. So this makes this an excellent reader. So you can see a lot of text without pinching and zooming in. This is particularly good for text that has some color to it. So for example, the blue text here looks very sharp. You can really pinch in to zoom. You can see it's very smooth. The fonts look very smooth. It's very sharp. It's not quite as sharp as the iPad, but it definitely improves the overall readability of text on this device versus the Prime. So in the end, this is definitely my favorite 10-inch Android tablet out there right now. So if you want an Android version of the new iPad, this is definitely the one to look at. So you get excellent specs, a beautiful screen with excellent readability for text, a beautiful color and vivid contrast. You also get a superb camera with that flash. You also get an excellent front-facing camera for teleconferencing, which actually produces HD video. Performance is pretty good. It's pretty smooth. It's not as super fast or silky smooth as I've come to expect on something like the Google Nexus 7 with Android 4.1, but because this is getting Android 4.1, you can probably expect performance improvements once that arrives. So the specs are definitely there. It just needs the latest software to really push it to the top of the pack. So that's going to do it for me, guys, in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.